Okay, Patrick, let's talk about other moves that the Canucks might make. Everybody's looking at this roster and saying, oh, they need to go out and get a puck-moving defenseman. As it stands right now, you've got a third pairing of Derek Forbort and Vincent Desharnais, with Noah Juleson kind of coming in as the seventh defenseman there. Our pal Stéphane Roger over at Canucks Army broke down who was out there, and the term he used was slim pickings remaining beyond Oliver Kylington, who, as we know, wants term on his next deal. Kylington hasn't played much recently, so you always think about that and what that could mean. So I'm just looking at it and saying Oliver Kylington is the best option out there, but depending if the money makes sense, like it seems like we might be headed to a scenario where the money just doesn't make sense for the Canucks to sign a guy like Oliver Kylington to something with term.
He's a guy that I remember thinking, there's an interesting name. What does he, what would he really be willing to do? What kind of role? If you find yourself in this position, right? Like you didn't have someone rushing to your door to sign you on July 1. It is now July 10th, right? Most teams have set things pretty clearly. When he sat down with his agent going into this offseason, what was their target, right? What did he think? What kind of role is he willing to accept? And you look at the Canucks, who I think in their hearts of hearts would love to add another kind of depth puck-moving defenseman. You look at that potential Forbort-Desharnais pairing, and you're like, that's given away a lot. Can we find someone that we could slot in there that can move the puck a little bit and play with one of those sort of guys that is defense first, generously? And I thought that's an interesting guy. Now, they've already kind of slotted in Mark Friedman as a depth guy. They've obviously got Noah Juleson as a depth guy. I think Kylington is a better sort of he's an option that neither one of those guys provide. But is that a role that he wants to play, or does he see a team? I don't know. I mean, in the end, Utah is going to be adding players, and San Jose is going to be adding players, and are those places that he might want to go. But yeah, he's certainly a name that intrigues me, and going all the way back to his draft year when everybody thought he was an interesting option here as well. I thought, it was going to be difficult. He was always going to go later than the Canucks were picking, but. He's a guy that's intrigued me for a long time, and obviously we've seen him quite a bit playing against the Canucks, and I think in the right role, and I think this team could be a team that would fit him well.
Does Tyson Barrie excite you at all? No. Like, come on, league minimum Tyson Barrie, local kid, doesn't excite you? Right shot, offense first guy? No,
it's over.
What do you mean it's over? Don't tell me it's over for Tyson. He's 32. He's 32. I'm sorry. Tyson Barrie on a PTO or like a one.
Fine, but I'm just saying, like he does. You asked, the question was, does he excite me? David, he's 33 in 2 weeks.
Oh, whatever. Well, he's still 32 right now.
Like he's in the wrong. It's unfortunate. He's had a heck of a career, right? But like the Predators played him in that one game against the Canucks, and yeah, he got an assist. But like, come on, he played in 41 games for Nashville this year. He was a spare part. What's he going to really do for your team at this point?
Look, Tyson Barrie on a...
He's not going to play on the power play here, so what's the point? So what's the point?
The point is that he can move the puck. He can move the puck. And if you...
fair enough. He's a year off a 55-point season in Edmonton and Nashville. Fine. Fair enough.
A lot of those came on the power play.
But he's... Nexus 187 is absolutely right. Washed, David. He's washed.
What do washed guys do?
Good guy, living the life.
They signed PTOs and league min deals. If you can get Tyson Barrie on a completely buryable contract, you can just bury them. If you
get him on a league minimum deal, go for it.
So in conclusion, Tyson Barrie does excite you.
No.
Just a name I'm throwing out there. Another name. It's slim pickings. We weren't joking when we said it's slim pickings for the Canucks after this. Other names on the list that Stéphane wrote out. John Klingberg, Justin Schultz, Kalen Addison, Ryan Suter, who's 39, Alex Goligoski, 38. Like, these names don't excite me, but they're names that are out there. And Grady had one as well. Grady, you like Gustav Lindstrom. There's a name. Depth defenseman. Like, these are all not names that are going to excite you per se.
Gustav Lindstrom? Why does Gustav Lindstrom excite Grady?
Grady's got to turn on his mic for this one. Grady, why does Gustav Lindstrom excite you?
Like, Jay Fresh's assessment is a depth defenseman says it all. That's enough. What else do you need to know?
He was a plus player on a bad Ducks team last year. He's 6'2", right shot Swedish defenseman. Can move the puck. Hey, these guys aren't going to be winning the Norris, but some friendly competition training camp on the right side.
Oh man,
yeah. I'm 100% with Grady on this one. Like,
you
I'm
need depth, Patrick. You need depth.
Sure. All right, fine. If that's what we're talking about, literally depth defenseman, okay. But the question that David said, does this guy excite you?
Yeah.
No, it's July 10. No.
Oh, whatever.
Come on, get real.
If you're relying on guys like Gustav Lindstrom to excite you, then your team's in real trouble.
You also know Davis is July 10th, and he's trying to figure out what to talk about. And it's not as terrible fantasy baseball team.
Oh,
Hachiroku in the chat, but he ain't 6'6". Quads shouldn't be intrigued. That's a good point, but 6'2's close. Like 6'2's close. I think I could work with that. I could work with that kind of size. Okay, let's talk about what's next on my list here. Yeah, okay.
Nexus is right. Boquist would have been nice. That's the thing that I might have gotten excited about.
Yeah. Eric Brandstrom. Absolutely. Eric Brandstrom as well.
Big fan of Nexus 187 today. Big fan.
Nexus is great. Nexus is a friend of Wyatt's. They play Warzone. I played Warzone with Nexus. Anyways, I'm not very good at Warzone. I don't play it anymore.
Yeah, that's true, Jay. Absolutely.
Dog Days of Summer talking about what hat Patrick was wearing. I'm just curious. I'm curious what kind of hats Patrick Alvin wears, but he's a total. As soon as you go back,
are you gonna tell your fiance this is what Alvin was wearing? What do you think? Is that what it was?
That's true. I could do that too. I don't usually put people on blast like that, but I totally saw it as soon as you said golf hat. I totally see that it'd be a golf hat. Like he's a total golf hat guy. Like he's not rolling up with a yellow Oakland A's hat right here, Patrick.
It makes me sad, Dave. Don't do that.
Well, don't
make me sad.
I like the swinging A's.
Well, it's depressing. Don't bring that up. Move on.
I like the team. I like the fans. I don't like the ownership. Okay. Kevin Tyrion in the chat here. Tyson
Tyrion.
He's too soft. No others on the list. Missed out on Boquist. Yeah, it might just come down to that the Canucks did just miss out on their guy. But look, there's still options out there to go sign to those PTOs, those late summer contracts. Let's not forget Pia Suter was signed while I was at the Greater Vancouver Zoo in August, and that signing came down in like late August. These can happen. So I'm curious what's going to happen. And Kevin in another comment said need a legit second pairing right side defenseman. I'm going to go out and say it, like that's not going to happen. Like they're not going to sign anybody other than a depth defenseman. I don't think.
Like I said, if they can make some changes happen, if they get off Pullman somehow, I think there might be something bigger they go after. I think they're for the most part mostly done. I think if there's anything else that happens here, they're like slim pickings. You took the words out of my mouth. There's no other words to describe it. The roster for the most part is set. I mean, they have hope. They do have some hopes. Let's put it this way. I didn't really hype on it at the time. And I'm not sure what to make of it even now. But last month, Jim Rutherford talked to Ian McIntyre and mentioned how he thought, oh, maybe there's a chance Lekar-Mackey makes it out of training camp. And you're just like, come on. Like, no, the kid needs to play in the NHL. But obviously that's a discussion point they've had. There's a lot of what ifs. They would love it if Elias Pettersson all of a sudden turned into an NHL defenseman. I don't think he's going to be an NHL defenseman that fast. I think he still needs some work, right?
Dave Hall would agree with you.
What's that?
Dave Hall, our prospect guy, he would agree with you. That's his
close.
Yeah, that's our
close. They're definitely like. It's not an accident that they've talked about him and that they got him over here last spring. Like they want to see him turn into something.
With Lekar-Mackey, like I wrote about this recently too. The way I would handle Lekar-Mackey, the way I would advise handling Lekar-Mackey is just give him a run with Elias Pettersson in training camp. If Linus Karlsson can get a run with Elias Pettersson in training camp, so can Jonathan Lekar-Mackey. Give him a real run with Elias Pettersson on his wing, because that's where he's going to play. If he makes the team, like that's where he's going to play. That's where he should play. Further to my point, if you realize, okay, we can't trust him defensively, we don't think he's quite ready, he needs some AHL seasoning, don't do the Vasily Podkolzin thing where he bounces up and down the lineup. It's, are you a top six winger? No? Okay, go be a top 6 winger in the AHL. You are going to be a top 6 winger. It is going to be somewhere else. We are not trying to turn Jonathan Lekkerimäki into a bottom 6 winger. I don't like the idea even of him playing on the 4th line or 3rd line being, oh, he can get soft matchups. No, don't do that to him. Put him in the AHL. Let him play there. You've got guys who can play in the bottom 6 that Rick Tocchet's going to trust.
Right.
Don't try to make Jonathan Lekkerimäki something he's not. Let him have the shot to play in the top 6 out of training camp. If he does, like Puck Colson was in the top 6 last year in training camp, and they quickly realized that wasn't going to work. They put him in the AHL. Slightly different situation here. I get that, but give Lekkerimäki the chance to play in the top 6 in the preseason. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Put him in the AHL. Don't do this thing where it's like, well, he was okay, so we're going to put him on the 3rd line or the 4th line. Don't do that. You've got your 3rd line figured out with Joshua Garland. Just put Lekkerimäki in the AHL. It's not even a problem for this team if he does. Like, they're not banking on Lekkerimäki making the team out of camp. If he does, it's found money, but they're not banking on it, and that's a good position for them to be in. Recognize that you have that position, put him in the AHL, let him play top 6 minutes wherever it is.
Exactly. And you know, it's that, I guess the only thing I'm kind of cautious about is that we have seen this kind of talk before. Now, I think the circumstances are different, but you can think about defense prospects who we don't still know a lot about, who we're kind of intrigued by going back a decade. You know, you think about guys like, I don't know, Jordan Subban.
There's a name.
Right? But there was a lot of hype and people were like, oh yeah. And then he topped out and that was it. Now, the setup then was very different from what it is now. There's a lot more support for these guys. There's a lot more hands-on. They're so much closer to the NHL team. There's a lot more coordination between coaching staffs. There's a GM who actually knows where the farm team is. So it is a bit different, right? But again, you have to remember the adage that goes to, I think it's Reese Jessup, who now works for the Hurricanes, but former Canucks Army editor-in-chief, who said, all prospects are bad. They all stink. And then one of them proves you wrong. And so that's where we're at. That's the thing I always remind people.
Yep. That's a common theme with Canucks Army managing editors, because that's exactly how I feel. Don't try to put them in square pegs. Don't do it. Don't do it.